The purpose of this presentation is to provide a user-friendly resource and general guidance to the Program Office Contracting Officer's representatives who compile the necessary elements of a purchase request package. This information is targeted primarily towards cores and technical experts who seek supplies and simple services. This presentation highlights what a statement of work is, why it is necessary, who does it, and practices the writer can adopt to be more successful. Before we identify the elements of a statement of work, let's first review who the players are and what their responsibilities are in this process. The contracting officer in the statement of work does review it, edit it, and provide suggestions to the statement of work drafter for completeness. The contracting officer's representative is the person who is responsible for writing, individually or with the program team, and revising the statement of work so that it is complete. Although this briefing will not cover the procurement process itself, an overview of the major steps are included for both the core and the CO. At this point, the writer should have completed preliminary market research. The program need should now be accounted for with a rough estimate set aside in its budget. With its bona fide need, the program office is now moving forward to writing down its need. Because this need comes from the program itself, it is the program's responsibility to define its own project need. At the outset of writing the statement of work, the writer should know the answers to the following. What is the problem to be resolved? What resources will it take to complete this task? And how do I know it's good when I get it? Now that we have a big picture view of our need, let's further define the statement of work. From the technical standpoint, the SOW is the single most critical document in the acquisition process. Therefore, it must be written clearly and accurately and contain the necessary elements of a project management. Why do we need to do all of this? It's the most efficient way to define the work needed to be performed, capture roles and responsibilities, monitor and evaluate work performance, and subsequently determine if the contractor should be paid for services rendered. Writing a statement of work in conjunction with the standards of project management is thinking the project through and doing the work up front. A well-written statement of work is also important because it could be read by a number of people. In most instances, it will be read by the program, the contracting officer, and industry. However, in the instances it causes public scrutiny, it could be read by the Department of the Interior Solicitor, General Accountability Office Administrative Judge, and perhaps the media. Although this doesn't happen in the vast majority of cases, it should be noted that the SOW should be written so well that these various personnel can read it and quickly understand the government's requirement. The benefits of a well-written SOW are many. It is one source from beginning to end we all turn to for a shared understanding of the work to be performed. Because the language is clear, concise, and complete, it allows for the vendor to accurately schedule the project and price it. Therefore, a well-written SOW increases the quality of quotes received. If the SOW does not state exactly what it is wanted, or does not state it precisely, it will generate contract administration problems for the core, the contractor, and the CO. Because the SOW is a written reflection of what the project should accomplish, many of the elements of an SOW are actually descriptive elements of the program's project. A more thorough explanation of the elements in this slide is provided in the sample statement of work. The simple statement of work does not include a deliverable for a contractor's plan to perform the requirement. By this I mean a deliverable is not the quoter's technical plan. The SOW should be written so that, including the RFQ package instructions, the quoter can use the SOW to prepare a proposed approach. The quote is a proposed approach in response to the needs described in the SOW. A few best practices, of course, include mandatory FAR elements. Furthermore, in most cases, the SOW should be written by the government. If a contractor is under contract to perform statement of work writing services, then the contract should disqualify the SOW writer's company and the opportunity to compete for the new requirement. Additional best practices are used to use clear, precise language. This is captured by using limited adjectives and appropriate work and product words. Please review the following words and consider using them to shape the SOW. Now, it's time to start writing the SOW. Step 1. First of all, we need to determine the project objectives. This step involves developing clear statements about why the agency is undertaking the procurement and what it hopes to achieve. Step 2. If this is the first time in a while you have undertaken this particular project, it is wise to request a contracting officer be assigned to your potential requirement up front. The contracting officer can help lay out the requirements for the procurement and procurement schedule. This will reduce the delays in award by identifying a realistic procurement action lead time which can be built into the program's project management schedule. Step 3. Next, the SOW writer should determine all of the individual requirements that must be accomplished if the project and program office is to meet its mission objectives. Just a few considerations are: deliverables. What supplies or services are required? Who will use the supplies and how? Standards of performance. What performance and accuracy standards can be specified for the supplies or services? Personnel. What categories of staff should conduct the project for the contract? What should be their qualifications? What should be the qualifications and experiences of the contractor? Methodology. What is the appropriate methodology? Are there different possible methodologies? What stages or phases can the project be broken into? Schedule. When are the results of the project needed? How long should the project take? What is the schedule for the deliverables? Location. Where should the project take place? Will travel be required? If at any point you do not know the answers to these questions, simply do more market research and check with internal sources to fill in the gaps. Step 4. After all the requirements have been listed, they should be arranged into a logical sequence. Step 5. An outline provides structure for the document and saves a great deal of writing time. A detailed outline makes it easier to focus on content and to spot inconsistencies, redundancies, and gaps that may need to be filled. It saves time in the writing phase by providing a clear picture of the interrelationships among ideas and the most logical order to present them. Step 6. Once the outline has been completed, write the first draft. The purpose of the first draft is to put everything on paper without editing. Step 7. After getting the first draft written, it's appropriate to return to it and edit it. Some questions to consider in revisions are: does it contain sufficient information? Is the writing based on sound reasoning? Is the subject clearly stated? Is the subject advanced in clear stages? Is the connection between the stages clear? Sometimes the best way to ensure the SOW is complete is to ask a colleague to review it. The pitfalls of the SOW have ambiguous and restrictive language, unclear role responsibilities, and unclear project parameters. In addition, SOWs which are wordy, filled with technical jargon, and do not follow plain English are rarely understood or agreed upon by all parties. The program office must also do due diligence by completing market research and ensuring we are doing our own work and writing the statement of work based upon government need rather than contractor capabilities. Next, we will cover in more depth 2 of the major avoidable SOW pitfalls. A major pitfall in writing statements of work is the use of ambiguous language. Ambiguity often stops performance in its tracks. Therefore, it is often best to write a clear, precise, and unambiguous statement of work to avoid delays, disputes, confusion, etc. Another major pitfall is the use of overly restrictive work statement. Of course, there is a time and place for restrictive requirement statements. In certain circumstances, for instance, it may be determined by the government that issues in safety, security, and systems compatibility may be fairly detailed. Overly restrictive statements inhibit competition, increase government ownership of risk, and typically do not allow for the government to take advantage of contractor innovation and efficiencies. To overcome overly restrictive language, we must write a statement of work describing the salient, functional, or basic characteristics so that we can move towards performance-oriented requirements documents. To overcome restrictiveness and become more performance-oriented, we must describe the objectives to be accomplished, the end goal, or the desired achievement. We must also include all pertinent information needed so the vendor can provide a quote with a technical approach which tells us how our objectives will be accomplished. In summary, the statement of work is critical for quote preparations, contract performance, and measuring contract performance. Should you have any questions regarding the statement of work or procurement process, kindly contact your local acquisition professional.